Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Breaking the Code. One topic, no script. And today we're going to have Jamie have a heart attack on screen. And this is top 5 DC storylines.
The palpitations are killing me right now.
So he's got his nitro pills in his mouth right now. We're good to go at least for 30 minutes. But I'm going to go ahead and start this one off. And my number 5 for top 5 DC storylines is the Judas Contract.
Ooh, good pick.
So
surprising at number 5.
The ones I have above that I think are better than that. But Judas Contract, what was that? That was Perez art and Wolfman writing. Is that correct? Right.
And that was the new Teen Titans.
Exactly. Yep. That was Nightwing with his disco collar and
the first actual appearance of Nightwing Disco.
Yep, exactly. But that storyline also really brought in Deathstroke.
Yeah, the Terminator.
Exactly. And a wonderful story it is. If you guys haven't checked out the Judas Contract, you absolutely should. It still holds weight today. With Dark Crisis coming up. Nightwing and Deathstroke really go at it. We've seen previews of that already, but getting back to the story at hand, Perez's artwork is absolutely fantastic. Marv Wolfman's writing is top notch. This is also pre-crisis too. So you have that aspect into it as well. There's not a whole lot more I can say about that. I mean, what the Titans team at that time, it was Nightwing, Starfire, Raven, Cyborg, and Beast Boy, but I think he was called Changeling then.
Yeah, he was Changeling at that time before they changed his name. They did mention Beast Boy in there, but his name was changing.
Yeah, because he was wearing the white and the red full body suit. Yeah,
right.
So Changeling and Beast Boy, same thing. But it's a fantastic story. This is
and Tara.
That's right, Tara. She was in it too. Yeah,
she's the main reason of being in it.
Yeah, go check it out, guys. Absolutely fantastic. Jamie, what do you have at your number 5?
God. At my number 5, this is why I hate this list. Now, it was perfect, and it was good, and I just can't stand it. My number 5 is Blackest Night.
Okay.
And that was the pinnacle of my comic collecting at that time. And that story from Green Lantern to Blackest Night completely changed the game for me in comic reading. Like, that set my standard of what I want to read, what needs to be read, how I want to read it, how tie-in should work.
That was Jeff Johns writing too, right?
Yep. It was Jeff Johns at the helm. Every emotional spectrum being a part of it, heroes being brought back, death, life, you name it, was a part of it. New lanterns, new rings, new fights, different people joining as allies. It was so chaotic, but so well done. Like, now I'm like at number 5, but no, that's my number 5 for now.
Blackest Night is one of my favorite Green Lantern stories and one of my favorite DC epics, but it didn't make my list. So moving on to number 4. Now my number 4 is more of a saga, but it falls in line with what we were talking about, and it is the Nightfall Saga.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, so very good.
That was the story in the 90s for Batman, and it still holds weight today too. You had the breaking of the Bat, Bane utterly destroying Batman, John Paul Valley coming in as his replacement and doing a very different job than Bruce would have wanted to be done. And then you had, so it was Nightfall, Night Quest, and Night's End. And Night's End was John Paul Valley Batman and Bruce Wayne Batman after he had been healed. And this was what, over the course of 3 years?
Yeah.
2 years, 3 years? Yeah, this was long. But you had Night's End, which was the end finale of this, with them two going at it and Batman reclaiming the throne as Batman himself. Guys, if you want something that'll take a long time to read, but is a really, really good story with really, really good artwork, the Nightfall Saga, absolutely.
Yeah, and that didn't make my list either.
Really?
Yeah. but it was probably one of the biggest moments in Batman at the time.
Yep.
The bat being broken.
Yep.
Finally. John Paul Valley coming in and basically taking the helm and trying to be like the Punisher-esque of a Batman.
Yeah.
The closest we got to it.
Changing the suit and everything. It was such a drastic take.
Yeah, and they even had crossovers with him with other characters as John Paul Valley because that's what time frame they were in at the time. And having John Paul Valley as the front man finally was nice to see.
Yeah. Well, okay. What do you got as your number 4?
I feel the ulcers starting to form. At number 4, I have Batman Under the Red Hood.
Ooh, okay.
So this is the very first appearance of Jason Todd coming back and being the Red Hood and trying to take out Batman and basically becoming the crime lord of Gotham to get rid of crime. You didn't know who he was throughout most of the series until that, initial take off the hood. Yeah. And showed who he was. And it was just shock and awe. It doesn't get better than that with Batman, to me, at least. Even the death of Jason Todd, this story topped that for me. It still holds weight to this day. Even in comics, he's still trying to figure out why Bruce never chose him.
Now, I thought Red Hood made his debut in the Hush storyline.
No, his first Red Hood, not Jason. Jason Todd is Red Hood.
Gotcha. Okay.
So Red Hood made his debut then because that was Joker.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
But Red Hood was start with Red Death.
Exactly.
Red Death.
And like you said, it holds so much weight now because that is the foundation for Jason Todd.
Yeah, and every time he's like, you just see that still constant fight with Bruce and Batman because of the fact that he wanted to be that Robin, but he felt like Batman gave up on him.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great pick for number 4.
What you got for us, Tim?
Number 3 for top 5 DC storylines. I'm staying in the 90s, guys, and I'm going with the death of Superman.
Not on my list.
Oh, man. Death of Superman, guys. This was the thing. This received international attention. And this was at the height of my DC reading when I was a kid. And we even talked about this, maybe not this particular storyline, but this era of DC Comics before. And this, I think, was pinnacle Superman storytelling at the time. And this was pinnacle DC storytelling. They took a huge risk killing off their big top dog, Superman. And they did the whole saga bit too. You had the death, funeral for a friend, and then the reign of the Superman, and finally Superman returning and stuff like that. This was it, guys. If you have not read the Death of Superman storyline, I highly, highly recommend that. Funeral for a Friend and the Reign of the Superman, which brings in Steel, Cyborg, Superman, Eradicator, and Superboy, or Superman, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But Death of Superman as my number 3. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and that is one that stands out more than anything. I feel like it's one of the more popularized ones.
Yeah.
Because it was it hit the nail right on the head. At that point, even the DC offices are like, what can we do to change things? And one guy in the back for months was saying, just kill Superman.
Yeah. George, I think we're gonna listen to you.
Yeah, I think this time we're gonna take your advice. Let's kill him. So yeah, it was definitely that moment where you felt something, and you can check out our Death in Comics episode as well for more information on that from us. But that was the very first time you felt something for a character. And that's why I think that changed the game and made death not a big thing anymore.
Very true, Jamie. That is a very good point. Well, speaking of points, what do you have for number 3?
Number 3. I have Earth 2.
The New 52 run?
Yes.
Wonderful choice.
Now that was a totally different, obviously Earth 2. It was Earth Prime or Earth 1.
No.
You had Alan Scott as Green Lantern come back in a different origin. You had Jay Garrick back, different origin. You had Hawkwoman, different origin. You
Yeah.
had all these all these characters in hand. I believe Lois Lane was Red Tornado.
Well, you had the Trinity wiped out in the first issue.
Yeah, Trinity's gone.
Yep.
And now you have this main core. You have President Superman.
Yep.
At one point, it just, I don't think, yeah, he wasn't President Superman at the time on that
No.
one. But it was just a crazy way to tell these heroes in a new light, and it grabbed me from that, from Earth 2 to Earth 2 Society to Earth 2 World's End. Like, all three of those were amazing to me. But Earth 2, that specific storyline, like how Alan Scott got his ring to where Jay Garrick got his powers,
Yep,
was just mind-blowing to me.
Earth 2 was aside from Batman, Earth 2 was my other favorite New 52 series that was out. I got every issue of that every month when it came out. I loved Earth 2. I thought that was such a creative way to bring back those older Justice Society characters. Or
it felt like, yeah, exactly. It felt like JSA was rejuvenated.
And they were super prominent on Earth 2. And I really loved that within the first 5 pages, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman were toast. Gone.
Right.
Yeah. And the world had to survive without them, and survive they did.
Earth found a new way.
Yep. Earth 2, I think, is one of the best New 52 lines that they had.
Yes, definitely up there. And it, like, again, this is all subjective. I'll probably end up changing this at some point tonight in my mind, but this is what I'm sticking with right now because it's written down.
That's wonderful. Earth 2, what a fantastic choice. However, with my number 2, we're going to go kind of alternate universe here, and we're going to go with Watchmen.
Not on my list.
Not on your list. Wow. So,
but I can see number 2 on that one. Yeah.
Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons' masterpiece. This was the series that is hailed by most as what started the modern era of comic books, or at least the Copper Age, which brings us into the modern age. Either way, either one. Watchmen is, it showed that comic books were not just for kids, that comics could be written for adults and have very adult storylines. The artwork is fantastic. This is Alan Moore at his best. And yeah, dude, 12 issues. It's absolutely fantastic. Rorschach, Night Owl, the Comedian, Silk Spectre, Dr. Manhattan. The list goes, Ozymandias. I mean, it's just all over the place. This is an absolutely wonderful story, and I think it needs to be on everybody's must-read list.
Now, did they officially claim that as a DC property?
Watchmen, it is DC.
I know after Watchmen was DC. I didn't know if they took Watchmen and finally claimed it as a DC property.
Yes, Watchmen was put under the DC banner. It has the DC Bullet logo on it. Okay. It says for mature readers and all that stuff. It's just like a brief history of this. If you're unaware, which I'm pretty sure you're not, but I'll just go ahead and give it anyways. Alan Moore wanted to take specific characters that DC had recently acquired. I think like the Question and Blue Beetle and Phantom Stranger and some other characters, even Superman and Batman. And he wanted to write a story that was completely off the rails with those characters and going totally against the grain of what they should have been. And DC execs were like, absolutely not. You're not going to do that with Superman or Batman.
You're
or anything
crazy
like
pills.
that. Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. And he's like, well, okay, then I'm just going to make my own characters and write the story. Well, yeah, you go ahead and do that. And so he did. And that's what Watchmen became. So Rorschach, I think, would have been the Question. The Comedian was either going to be Superman or Batman. Night Owl, well, yeah, Comedian probably would have been Superman. Night Owl was Batman, etc., etc. Silk Spectre, Wonder Woman. But yeah, Yeah, I think it needs to be on everybody's must-read list. So, Jamie, what do you have for number 2?
Number 2 is one that's near and dear to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys haven't checked out any of the videos yet, we have a one shot with Mr. Daryl Banks himself, and also a interview that I still need to get up on our YouTube page because it was on Twitch and it was live, so we took it down and I gotta edit it. It's edited, it just needs to be posted. But that's gonna be Emerald Twilight.
Ooh.
For my number 2. Now this is the Green Lantern of Green Lantern stories aside from Blackest Night. This is the moment where hell snaps. This is the moment where Coast City is nothing. This is the moment where everything just when you ever hear the phrase I lost everything, this is the story you think of.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, has been, only almost
30 years.
30 years now that I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh God, I'm old. But it's been almost 30 years and this story still tugs at your heartstrings. And just the ride along the way. I mean, I'm not really giving too much spoiler away because it's been 30 years. If you haven't read it yet, go pick it up. Him snapping Sinestro's neck, killing the corpse, just going all out and just not caring anymore because he wants his life back. He wants everything he lost. And we get the very first appearance of one Kyle Rayner.
Yeah. Dude, when you had us do this for a review on the podcast, what was it? Green Lantern 48.
Yeah, 48.
Yeah, where that took the start. I hadn't read that pretty much since month of release back in the day. And going back and rereading that, I had to
God, you must have been in your 50s at that point.
Yeah, I was a million years old then. But I had to go back and reread the Superman issue where Coast City was destroyed, just to get the foundation of what happened. And then going into that where Hal is just standing there, he's got his arm in the sling, and
that cover alone where he's like,
dude,
in the crater.
And you, if you look at that cover without context, he's upset about something. But after reading that story, you're like,
or that's the interior page is him in the crater.
Well, on the covers, isn't that where he's?
No, he's got his hand up with the ring and is shooting out.
Yeah, but looking at the cover, you know that something's going on. But once you read that title, once you read that issue, you're like, wow, I really understand that man's heart was broken, and it's like I said before, that was the issue where you saw Hal go from a hero to a villain.
Yeah, and that's that story where it takes one bad day.
Yep, and that was it.
Yeah, so that's my number 2.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, as always, we're going to go through our 5 to 2s before we reveal our number 1s, and I'm very curious to see what Jamie has for his number 1. But before we do that, my number 5 is the Judas Contract. Number 4 is the Nightfall Saga. Number 3 is Death of Superman. Number 2 is Watchmen. And my number 1 top 5 DC storyline is Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Not my number 1.
Not on your list. Oh. Crisis on Infinite Earths, guys. This is what reset DC at a time when a serious reset was absolutely needed. It was more than needed. They were desperate for it. There was just so much all over the place, and they took all of that, crammed it into one in 8 issues. 12 issues.
12.
And totally restructured.
Oh, iconic covers everywhere.
Yes, restructured the entire DC universe into one formula, and it worked. What was it after this? Then you had modern retellings of origins for Superman, Green Lantern, Batman, etc., etc. This is the story, the Anti-Monitor right there. Yeah, look at that. Absolutely fantastic. You know the covers, you've seen the covers, they're wonderful. The whole story is good, and it has the immortal George Perez doing artwork, which is all the more reason to check it out.
Yes.
There's not a whole lot more praise I can give for that, except this is, I think, pinnacle DC storytelling at its finest.
Yeah, and I agree with you about this. This this was the moment where things had to happen and things had to change.
Yep.
And it was amazing just to see and sit there and be part of it and read it and just see the passion and the effort put into it.
Just all of that.
Yeah. And there's even renditions of it, like famous covers or homage covers, I should say.
Yeah.
And then you've got even stuff that they're talking about today. The 52 Earths are still relevant up to a point until they cram them and then get rid of them and then cram them again. And cram them again. But it brought so many different characters in. It brought new faces, old faces. That's definitely, that should be on a top 10 list, on everybody's top 10 list.
Absolutely.
But not my top 5.
But not Jamie's. So, Jamie, with that being said, give us a rundown of your 5 to 2s, and then please let me know what your number 1 is.
So at number 5, I have Blackest Night. Number 4, I got Batman Under the Red Hood. Number 3, I've got Earth 2. Number 2, I got Emerald Twilight. And for my number 1, I have Darkside Wars.
Darkside Wars. That is also a new 52 storyline.
But Justice League was a new retelling of the team starting. But once you got to Darkside War, again, another Jeff Johns just knock out of the park book. When you got Darkside War, there was so much in that. There were so many tie-ins. It was everything you could ever, and I say this over Blackest Night, and it's really hard for me to say. It's the thing you wanted most and craved, and the fights you wanted to see happen, and just the domination and where they're coming back from. You had Jessica Cruz come in as a Lantern. You had all these different aspects, all these big hitters, all these things happen just to make it to this point. The first appearance of Grail, which is Darkseid's daughter. It just, there were so many different aspects to this story, and Darkseid was just a beast throughout the whole thing. Like I'm sorry, he beats Thanos. Like, to me, every time. But again, you could be wrong and be right, but I'm always right.
Personal opinion, I think if it came down to fisticuffs between Darkseid and Thanos, Darkseid, I think, would wipe the floor with him.
Yeah, but it was just Batman getting tossed around, which I absolutely adore. Because I'm going to say this right now because I've been thinking about this a lot too, is like that side tangent. Is that Batman's always the guy that once you see him come in the panel, it's like, oh, this story's over. Batman's here.
Yeah, Batman's here.
When he's getting tossed around like a rag doll, I'm in. But it was, taking Superman to his very, very best and breaking point. It was the Flash trying to be the fastest he possibly can without breaking time. It took every aspect of everything you ever thought of that could be with DC and cranked it to 11.
See, I haven't read this. I have a portion of it sitting over here on my bookshelf, but now just with that explanation that you've given, that's something that I'm going to read.
Yeah. And, that whole run gave everyone their spot, but by the end with Darkseid War, it just made the most sense I've ever encountered in comics.
Okay.
It was the most fluent way to tell that story.
Really? Okay. Right on. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if there's anything on this list that you haven't read, Jamie and I think that these are some of the best storylines that DC's ever put out. So
I'm going to get hate. I already know it. Because why isn't Superman on yours and it was on Tim's? Because Tim liked it. I didn't.
Superman,
I liked it. I just didn't put it on my list.
That is on your list. He's in Blackest Night. He's in Darkseid Wars.
But we're not talking about the death of him.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's subjective, guys. That's why we choose what we think is the best, not what is the best. This is what's the best for us. Right. And that's what's most important. So before we get out of here, Jamie, you got anything you want to say to our wonderful audience that is watching right now?
Yes, guys. As always, please, if you can, follow us here on Twitch. If you're seeing us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. We're on right now on Twitch. We're at the 550 followers, and on YouTube, if you're catching this right now, we're about at 91, I believe, for subscribers.
Yes.
We're only 9 away. So if you guys can just please hit that subscribe button and, give us some feedback on what we're doing, it'd be greatly appreciate it. We're trying to build this great community where we got a good foundation, and we want you to be a part of it because it only takes you to build this. Guys, as always, be kind to one another. You never know what's going on with someone out there. Even making someone smile can change their whole perspective of their day. So always be kind. And guys, I will see you in the next one.
And once again, ladies and gentlemen, as always, you can find us on all the socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, right here on Twitch, over on YouTube, on TikTok, and our shiny Discord. All you got to do is type in the Codex Station, and that is where you will find us. We are also on all podcast streaming platforms. Pick your favorite. We're there. Once again, type in the Codex Station, and that is where we will be. Once again, my name is Tim. This wonderful guy over here is Jamie. This is Breaking the Code. We are the Codex Station, and we will see you next time.